Good evening and welcome to The Uncomfortable Truth. Another week, another subject. Sammy boy, how are you?
It's been a long week. It's currently getting longer. It's not going too well. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No.
It's not going too well.
Now, it seems like we've had a busy weekends, but hey, United win. We haven't been able to say that many weekends of late, have we? So
Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking that.
Is this the start of rangnick time? Can we say that?
I feel like we should wait until after the international break, because you know how like we had the 2 week, was it like the 2 week break because of like COVID and stuff like that. I feel like he hasn't had enough time to actually implement everything. I still don't rate him as like the guy. But I think like in terms of like I think eventually we will get tactically better, especially if we get a transfer in, which it's the 23rd. I don't think that's happening unless magic happens in the next 7 days and we do what we did with Bruno and overpay for someone and bring them in. But it's not happening. Yeah, but it should get better.
Well, funny you should talk about transfer window because this week's Uncomfortable Truth is about the January transfer window, and I'm not here to talk about the latest. And you know, we're not going to get any journalists coming on with their rumors or anything like that. What I actually want to be talking about is the actual winter January transfer window, because one thing you hear quite often is a lot of clubs talking about there's no value in the market. You only get a transfer if you're panic buying. And I want to talk about that whole mentality around it, because January is the only time that you can make changes.
Yeah.
You know, so relegation, top four, winning the league. I don't know, maybe even a cup promotion if they're eligible. But the thing for me is that there's always an opportunity. Now, this year in particular, and probably even previous years, you've had COVID. We're starting to see a lot of players being hit. Now it's a completely different subject on whether clubs are using and abusing COVID.
For Liverpool fans, I'm just saying, speak out for your club.
But there's also a lot of injuries, and it's building up and it's building up. But before we get into the topic any further, guys, please don't forget, as always, to share, like, and subscribe to this. It is a growing channel. We've now got additional shows on this, so like honestly, get involved, share the message here. So, Sam, January transfer window. Is there generally value in the market, or are clubs just cheaper now? Because I feel that clubs are cheaper now. I think it's a bit of PR to basically appease fans and ultimately for clubs not to spend. What are your thoughts?
Well, for me, I feel like with the January transfer window, it's, for example, for the like summer transfer window, I think it's different because there's a longer period of time and you've got more time to like start scouting then and then just eventually build stuff up. But in January, yes, I think there is value in the market, but you just have to know what you're doing before it starts. Before you need to go in with an idea of who you want to buy and knowing like, because you cannot tell me that if a club, especially a big club, wants to buy a player that they couldn't get in summer or that they've been scouting since September, that they're not going to be able to buy that player. Like that seems just absurd to me. That you're trying to say that there's no value, even though there's even players right now being worth like under 10 mil that are generally quite class players, and you're trying to tell me there's no value in the market.
Well, I want to use a couple of examples, just little tasters, just something, just get mouth watering and make people question it, because a lot of people probably don't find that there is value in the market in January. It's are they that good? The question will be, if they're that good, why were they not bought at the end of the season in a summer transfer window? And I just sometimes situations dictate, and I'm gonna
circumstances.
Absolutely, and I think for me, when you look at Manchester United, okay, so we both understand that.
Yeah,
we as fans know that Manchester United need a midfielder.
Yeah.
Now, regardless of whether Rangnick comes in or not, I don't think it changes the fact that we still need a midfielder.
Definitely.
The type of midfielder might change. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer might have wanted a midfielder who could, a Declan Rice, but it could be a case that they wanted a midfielder who could control a game, dictate a tempo. Well, Rangnick, in his football, he wants perhaps something else. He wants high energy. Now, I'm not here to debate, the type of midfielders they want, but regardless, you still need that position filling. And it kind of feels to me that, Rangnick in particular, and him come in and him only having X amount of time to assess a squad, for him to then come out and go, well, we need time to assess that. I'm thinking, why? Why is it that every fan on this planet who supports this club can see that they need a midfielder, but the club don't understand that?
Like even from like a purely depth perspective, if you look at our midfield and the depth in our midfield, it's not there. Like right now, we have 3 midfielders fit. One of them can't play above 60 minutes in a game. And 2 of them are not rated by half the fan base. The one that is rated, the one that is rated on ability, is injured half a season anyway.
And you could argue half the fans don't even rate
him as well.
Yeah.
So, like, how are we supposed to, like? How can you say that I don't understand how you could. Well, even we have another person that supposedly can play there, but just somehow for some reason doesn't, and apparently it's a part of plans, but is never getting played. Like. So clearly, we lack something there. It doesn't take a genius. It doesn't take anyone to literally go, oh, okay, we need a midfielder. Because we've been saying we need a midfielder since Carrick left.
Yeah, and then since you could argue,
left.
Well, a lot of we'll relax.
But Fellaini's not good, but he was like a person.
Hey, as a second striker, I absolutely rate him. As a deep line midfielder, that's going to be up there with one of life's great mysteries in terms of why people thought he was.
I don't.
I watched this guy at Everton behind Jelavic, and he was a baller. This whole deep line midfield, it's madness, absolute madness. But anyway, we digress. Look, for me, like you're right. We haven't had a midfielder for donkeys. And if anything, we've been selling midfielders.
Yeah,
a lot of fans would argue, well, Ander Herrera was perfect. He'd be perfect in this situation. Manchester United will argue that Scott McTominay's replaced Herrera, and for them probably argue a cost saving as well. Think about the money that they'd have to spend on giving Herrera and his new contract. The money that McTominay was on coming in, the age, the energy that he was bringing, in terms of points on the board, is there much difference? That's how they're going to look at it from a cold economical point of view.
From an economical point of view, yes, I understand why they did that. From a footballing point of view, that is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah,
because even. I don't care whether you rate McTominay or you don't. Him and Ander Herrera don't play the same. Like I they're not the same midfielder. Like you can't use them interchangeably because the way they play is completely different. McTominay wants to be this kind of midfielder that can like make the late runs and score screamers from outside the box. Ander Herrera can do that. But Ander Herrera has a lot more in terms of like being.
He's got more now. To be fair, they're different ages, so maybe it's something that McTominay may develop. But Herrera definitely had the nous. He understood the dark arts of football.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to lie, I imagine he's an amazing teammate to have. But if you're against him, he is probably a shithouse. Do you know what I mean? He defines the term.
I'll tell you right now, Eden Hazard has nightmares of him because that one game he was on him.
Yeah,
he was just on him. Like he didn't let him breathe, and I don't like I wouldn't on any day say, "Oh, McTominay, you now go and like man mark a midfielder." Like I'm just like, man mark Hazard or like Messi. Like that just wouldn't make sense. It's just like a different type of player. It's a different sort of player, and like it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, and it's quite clear that either way, even like you still needed a midfielder from before and Herrera left.
Yeah,
we still needed a midfielder. We just sold like 2 or 3 prior to him.
We
needed that. We needed that depth anyway.
I think, and when it comes to Manchester United, we've got to tackle the white elephant in the room when it comes to January transfers. Bruno Fernandes was a January transfer. Now,
not even just Bruno though.
Well, no. Well, let's stick to one because he's going to be the most relevant, isn't he?
Yeah.
So when you look at Bruno, now you could argue that the push for Bruno only came when McTominay got injured, which is probably a bit scary in itself because we were short on numbers. But this guy's come in. And look, I know there's fans out there who have a preference for a type of football they want to see. They want something a bit silky. I don't think any fan in their right mind can argue the impact that Bruno has made for this current Manchester United team. Yeah. When you look at the goals, the assists, he has made an impact. I think it would be really disingenuous if you want to make a case about him not doing anything. And I know a lot of people, I've heard the arguments about, he's not won any cups or, why is he getting praise when he's not won anything for Manchester United? No, but individually, he has made a significant impact. I'm not sure there's been many midfielders who's even matched the record since he's joined.
I think
in terms of goals and assists.
His first full season is like the best season for a midfielder in terms of like goals and assists in all competitions. I think like any midfielder that's played in the Premier League. So
what was it?
Like
46 million in the end?
Yeah, something like even with his add-ons, only like 52, I think. 52,
yeah.
55. Like we're not really like considering what we paid for him. Let's say things fell out and we sold him tomorrow. We're getting at least like 70. At least 70.
You'd like to think you're getting some profit. You also like to think you got a little bit of money's worth out of the player.
Yeah.
Because look at what he like. You take away the goals and assists and just the general impact to play. I know there's been some question marks about his impact this season, but then the statisticians they'll all be coming out. Imagine I'll be ordering live comments saying, "Well, this guy is one of the best performers in Europe."
Yeah.
He's one of the best performers in the Champions League. This is the best competition.
He's going for the record.
So there is that impact still. And that's the thing. Manchester United on paper, if you believe the rumours and everything like that, might have come across as a club who was reluctant to perhaps spend up to £50 million for a player. But look at what has come from it. And this is where I want to talk about the value in the market. He's quite clearly been valuing the market. Now, surely that should be a case for a lot of other players. Are you telling me that there are other players in Europe, so let's use him as Sporting Lisbon. Sporting Lisbon as a team at this moment in time doing fantastically well.
Yeah.
Are you saying that there's no players there that they could get? You're saying that there's no players at Benfica or Porto?
Ironically, their January transfer signing, like we signed Bruno, they signed Goncalves.
Oh, yeah.
They went unbeaten, didn't they?
Yeah, went unbeaten for the season.
So
that's a brilliant example. But you're right. There's the value in the market. It's whether you're prepared.
People are saying that there's no value in the market. If one player moves, it could just trigger something like that. Like if one player moves there, another player moves there, and you can all just link up, and then everyone is somewhat happy. Like everyone wins.
Yeah.
Like everyone gets there might be one team that's now sold. Actually, that team that sold a player and not bought anyone else probably just happy that they just bought a player.
Yeah,
they just sold a player and got a decent amount of money for that player. That one sell could keep a club afloat for another season.
Well, this is the bizarre thing, and sort of because we'll go back to the same clubs, and we'll talk about value markets. I get the feeling I know where you're going to go with when it comes to Manchester United and January transfers. But you look at currently right now, and this is where I want to tackle our clubs being cheap. Are they being cheap? And maybe it'll be good to get someone who's perhaps been a scout at a club and really understand the process in this, because we've seen the links, and these might be casual links. The clubs might be laughing, going, I don't even know what these guys are on about. But it comes across that we're looking at a midfielder. Haidara has been a target. Now that might just be lazy journalism because the Leipzig connection, and he plays in midfield. Yeah. Then you got Zakaria at Richard Gladbach. Well, that profile makes sense given the manager. Again, it might be another lazy link because of Bundesliga, Rangnick, and everything. But there's been like Ruben Neves been mentioned, Bukayo Kamara, who's going to be free in the summer. So some of these clubs want to perhaps cash in, and the one that astonishes me the most is Dennis Zakaria. So this guy's quoted as £6 million again, if you believe the papers. £6 million for a guy who is, in my opinion, a genuine defensive midfielder. Can he do a box-to-box job? Yes, he can. I don't think he's a player that gets stuck in a certain position, but he comes across as a
job as well.
Yes, he can do. He can do. So, but his ilk is of a very defensive-minded one, which when you look at the Manchester United squad, the only player who has that ability, for me, is Matic. Wow. Now, Matic can do a job, but can he do a job every game? Can you expect him to do 60 games a season? I personally can't see it.
30? Can you do 30? Is the question.
If there's a disconnect, if there's a disconnect with midfield, and we don't have that, because look, we understand that when I look at Fred and when I look at McTominay. And this probably is going to be a debate in itself. I can see people in live comments go, "Oh, what are you on about? They're trash anyway." No, I don't necessarily see that as that, but I do look at them as box-to-box midfielders. When you want to see what they want to do, they are sort of energy-based box-to-box midfielders. I don't see Fred tries to dictate. I think it depending on the game situation.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's dreadful.
Yeah. And I'm talking about consistency here. I know the last few games he's been putting in some Perla assists and everything like that, but dictating from deep is one thing. And I think if there's a team that plays quite high, I think Fred thrives quite well. I think if it's a team that has a bit of a sort of low block, I don't see it. I don't see it on a consistent basis enough. But anyway, I don't think they have the eye that perhaps Matic has had in the past. I don't think they've got the eye that perhaps Michael Carrick has had in the past. Michael Carrick was defensive in the fact that he saw the danger before it happened. So he was always in the right position. He wasn't a combative enforcer or anything like that. He just knew where the ball was going to be. And you can't teach that. It really is a natural sort of intuition. And I don't think that's their Fred and McTominay's game personally. And that's no disrespect to them. It's just the type of midfielder that they are. I don't think there's actually many midfielders in Manchester United who naturally see that danger, but they're chasing a game. I think if you're chasing a game, you've lost it.
Yeah, I think personally, in general, I don't think there's that kind of midfielder really exists anymore that can just be in the right place at the right time and just reads the games. Because it's not about just you have to understand how that team is playing so quickly to know where to go, because they could be playing in a way that makes you think, oh, they're going to go out wide, so you move out wide. But that team might actually just be doing a decoy and normally just go straight through the middle. That you just need to know how teams play. Immediately, just reading the game is actually so hard. It's actually one of to have that skill in football is incredible. I don't think in general, because of the way football has become in terms of systems, players aren't really taught to read the game for themselves that efficiently. they're taught where to be, but they're not taught how to think where to be. So trying to find but like the point isn't trying to find the Carrick replacement. It's just trying because you don't try to replace a player that's irreplaceable. You just redo everything.
Yeah,
you completely redo it, which would just not. I feel like even with Zakaria or Zakaria, like he might not be the person. Like he might not. He's very very combative and like he reads the game like relatively well. But like even still, for like he's 6 million. What is there to lose if he goes completely bust? People are gonna say Bundesliga tax or Bundesliga, fine. It's 6 million.
You could probably resell him.
Like
you probably get more out of it.
Like for a club like United, 6 million is chicken change. Like they can probably go and
what
find
what are they saying in the live comments? Is there any sort of live comments on this? Because like it is interesting. I want to get your thoughts on this. Like I said, put this in the comments if you're watching live or following up after. But you know, £6 million is that cheap? And you're just getting a player for player's sake, or is there genuine value there? Because for me, I see it as £6 million. Who else is actually genuinely out there, and what's the risk?
Yeah.
What's the risk? What he's the same as what we've already got. Okay, well, fine. Well, if Matic is gonna, because I don't know how many seasons are left in Matic. Personally, you could probably sell Matic for £6 million to some Italian club, and I'm sure he'll do fantastically well there. But you're getting players in and getting players out, and look, if you get like a Dan James scenario, like okay, but look at what you got him in for, so up to £20 million, and then you sold him for 30. Do you know what I mean? It's just profit. So even from a business point of view, which we've always accused Man United of perhaps being more focused on, is that commercial element of it.
Yeah,
like for me that makes business sense. But that's enough about sort of Manchester United. It's just a good sort of example to understand. And we'll go back to good January transfer players in this instance. But Liverpool is a similar one.
Ooh.
Their whole season has changed because of a January transfer ban, and everyone knows who that be. And we'll talk about that player in a second. They're currently going through AFCON. They've lost 2 of their key players. Now, we could probably say even 3, but certainly the two in Salah and Mane. Now, Klopp's always moaning. Well, okay, what's stopping you getting back up? Because when you've got a front 3 replacement, they bought Jota. Okay, fair enough. Minamino's does a job, but is he the answer long term? Probably not. I feel like there is a player that's needed, whether it's that sort of Salah replacement, but they need something somewhere. Because don't forget, before they had Shaqiri.
Yeah,
that would be Shaqiri there. Have they actually replaced Shaqiri? Some people might argue yes, because they've got Curtis Jones, and Curtis Jones could do a job there. But they're a man light. They're a man light.
Liverpool. Well, firstly, like my opinions on Klopp. As a manager, I respect him, but these excuses need to stop. Like from Liverpool, because they're the only club that will have one of the largest revenues in Europe and claim that they do not have the finances to fund a transfer. I do not know what's going on. Like you're either managed because they just won a Premier League and Champions League. You cannot tell me that your club does not have enough revenue to buy from especially what's out there. What's out there is not expensive right now. Like you're not looking at buying someone for 50 million. If you needed another midfielder, because we know recently they've had some midfield issues. Milner is injury prone. Henderson is not in great form. Keita's up and down. So if you need another midfielder, again, Zakaria, Haidara, Bissouma is like 30 million. Kamara is like 10 million. So if you need to back up there, then it's there. And some like forward play, like they're off. If you want someone, then then you can definitely get someone. I personally, I'm not seeing how they're not able to for a club of their stature and their wealth, they're not able to get someone.
Yeah, look, I'm going to give Klopp more benefit because for me, I think what he's I think FSG are cheap. I think they like to cheap out. And I think it's more balancing of the books. So the example I'm going to use wasn't a very cheap example in Virgil van Dijk, but I feel like they use that money from sales and everything like that.
Yeah.
I think how Klopp does it, I think he wants to create such a siege mentality. And you think about Liverpool as a club, Liverpool as a city, they have that siege mentality about him. And I think him constantly bitching and moaning about all these things that are going against the team, I think he uses that to motivate the players. Look what's against us. They want us to play even though we're injury-ridden, COVID hit. Look at all the fixtures. They're trying to hurt us. They're trying to injure us. And get that mentality where it's like, damn it, us against them. Or, you know what I mean?
Which is, I get like sometimes it, like people are
the best have done it, Sam. But hang on, the best have done it. Sorry to interrupt, but the best have done it. Fergie did it. Mourinho's done it. Do you know what I mean? This is what the best do. So I'm going to look at the other way in that respect.
Yeah, I think the extent to which he takes it sometimes, like I could bring up one incident where he said the wind stopped them from playing well, which is I think is a come on.
Yeah.
I'm not like come on.
But I'm gonna call it out right here right now. What are you talking about? Are you talking about? Could you even tell me about those players' performance that game? No, because you're focused on him and his ridiculous comment about the wind.
Exactly. I think he's just generally like he's found like I understand what he's trying to do, but sometimes it just comes across as just a victim mentality, and maybe at some point he needs to realize that it's not gonna work anymore. Yeah. But to be fair, to his credit, it works really well. When he did the whole thing about why do United get so many penalties? It's so unfair, and then United just stopped getting penalties. So to his credit, it works. But I think at some point it's going to stop working. Even with United, at some point it stops working. Because when you're so far ahead, you just have to keep, like, you can't really say, we have this, and that. It was like, like, for example, if Pep came out and said, fixture congestion, then it'd be like, you have a squad worth over $1 billion. Like, you spent over $1 billion on defense alone. How are you going to complain about like squad depth and fixture congestion? Klopp is going to get to that stage where he can't complain anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to just like knuckle down and be like, okay, one, I claim to have a great squad. I should maybe utilize it more, because Klopp does also lack rotation at times. Second, look in the transfer market, because even if you're trying to go cheap, there's always, like, no one can tell me that, like, he's literally made his whole squad from getting players on a cheap apart from the end. So there is always someone to buy. Like, even Shaqiri, he managed to bag him on while he was getting relegated. So like, clearly there's something there. So I don't fully trust any manager, especially in top clubs, complaining about lack of squad depth or injuries or etc., because your clubs are the ones that are able to spend the money to get certain players.
A bit like what we talked about with Bruno Fernandes. You look at Virgil van Dijk, who you could argue transformed Liverpool to that next level. Liverpool, where they weren't rubbish, they were top four competing. When Virgil van Dijk was bought for 75 million,
75, yeah.
They went on Champions League run. They got to a final. They won the following season. They then won the league after. So I mean, and he was a big part of that. He was such a big part that he was even recognised on Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
And there's genuine conversations about maybe he should win it. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people wanted him to win it. And that's how much of an impact he made. This guy came in January.
Yeah.
This guy came from Southampton. There is clear, are you generally telling me that there aren't any players outside of the? I appreciate it differs depending on the European competition that you're in, but you're telling me that there aren't players out there who aren't playing in Europe.
There are
and this is, and you know what, the second part of this, we're gonna look into that. We're really gonna look into that. But that is the thing. £75 million again sounds like a lot of money. I've got my conspiracy theories as to why they paid that much, but we'll leave that for another time.
That's a whole different scenario.
Yeah. I'm consulting lawyers and everything like that to see how we word that. But but for me, £75 million, has he been value for money? Well, look what they've won. They've got to 2 Champions League finals and they've won a Premier League. For me, that's value in itself.
They're still,
and he's been a big part of that.
And they're technically still in the race for a third, for a third trophy. Like that Premier League could go. And honestly, if we're being like really realistic, they could also win a Champions League. Like maybe not both, but one or the other. And like it's trying to say that's out of the realms of possibility is a bit disingenuous.
You're a mad person if you think any Liverpool team who have a sniff in the Champions League have no chance. They generally believe, a bit like with Real Madrid, they generally believe it is their trophy.
Yeah, I literally, when you've seen that team go to face one of the greatest ever squads we've seen and beat them on the day in the Champions League final with one of the, I think generally they will say that is the worst Champions League squad to win a Champions League. And they literally won it purely because they felt like it was theirs.
And for those who are younger, we're talking 2005 Champions League win against AC Milan. Well, I hope Sam is, and I hope he's not giving. I hope he's not giving credit to Tottenham Hotspurs at this point.
No.
Lord of mercy. They only got Harry Kane, dude. Like, you don't have to big him up that much.
No, that season. That season they had. I'm sorry, Harry Kane. That season was not even their best player.
No. But no, you are right. That any mention of a Liverpool team in Champions League, they should be treated with that respect because they can cause upsets. But again, it's another example of look, it can work. So why aren't Liverpool looking into this? There could be a genuine transfer that could spur them on to another final, bit like how Virgil van Dijk, the impact that he had, and try and win. Do you know what I mean?
And even for a team like Liverpool, because of like their quality of their starting 11, it's not even necessarily about getting that new star player. Yeah, it's just someone that brings a different energy. When you just need that breath of fresh air, that player that just comes in and you're like, oh wow. Like when Jota first came in, everyone was like, oh wow. Like it's just a new element to Liverpool that just has this like new, like, because as the way people would say, like, I do believe that Jota is very different from Salah and Mane is in the way that he just brings a whole different aggression to his game. Like the guy is literally runs so aggressively at players, and it's so like it shouldn't work, but it does. It works for him, and I think the fact that he's able to do that just gives a whole new element. I think other players are looking at, oh, this guy's bringing a whole new energy. I need to match it. I need to like bringing that player off the bench is gonna like encourage people to bring that whole like try and match him, try and like also be aggressive, try and also like push through, and like having that player could send them. It could send them any like to a high degree. You don't have to buy a player that's well known. It could just be a player with the right profile.
Absolutely. But there'll be some people who probably think, well, is there that value? Is that? And I think let's try and bring some balance to this one, because I've seen, and you probably see it more with teams in the relegation zone. And I've seen clubs like your Newcastle's back in the day, your Norwich's, proper yo-yo club. We've seen clubs like that properly invest in January because they need to survive. They want to keep that £100 million ticking over, and like Stephen Naismith is a prime example. Big player, well, a player who played for Everton, goes to a club on high wages, big transfer fee, for the size of the club anyway. And what happens is they get relegated, and then all of a sudden you're stuck with those players. So there has to be an understanding of that. And so we're talking about the examples of Zakaria and everything like that, where it's like £6 million. But then do you create a situation where you're stuck with a player for 2, 3, 4 years? Look at the Donny situation. I know Donny wasn't a January transfer, but we've got this whole confusion where this guy is clearly not playing, and he clearly needs to go to a different club to play. But Man United aren't prepared to sell him. Yeah. But he's either is he of quality? Is he not of quality? It's just all very confusing because it's mixed messages for me.
It's like, do we Donny's a weird one. He's a very weird situation. I don't think we can put that to everyone.
Yeah,
because his one is so weird because he gets told I don't recall this happening where another player will come on the pitch, the manager says he plays well and should be starting, and then doesn't start him.
Yeah.
I've never seen that happen. It's really strange to me. So I generally think there must be some form of something else going on, but behind it, probably maybe some contractual issues, maybe some issues between the player and the club. I think there's probably a bit more to it than that. But yeah, they've put themselves in a position where you don't play a player, so their value goes down.
Yeah.
You don't want to sell the player though, because you think he can do something for your club and he brings commercial value, because that's why I think it's probably the one thing that might be keeping him here. But then you have the issue where he's not going to play, so where's that commercial value really going to go?
He's saying that there might be a lot of Donny shirts being sold in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I generally think United is that kind of club that would not even just United. There are many clubs that would do this. Arsenal did this recently with a certain player, but I think it's worked out a bit differently there. You'll buy a player just to enter the market of that country.
I am speaking of Arsenal. That's another club who, for me, Aubameyang was a player who came in a January transfer window, and it may be a rocky relationship, and maybe we're starting to see the beginning of the end. But when you look at what he's provided for that club in terms of goals, well, he's been a striker. He's hit the mark. There's no doubts about it.
Yeah, definitely.
How he's got to this point, I'm not here to just debate about. But the ultimate thing is well, the impact. If he wasn't at Arsenal, don't forget, he's coming at Arsenal at Arsenal's worst time.
Yes.
And you think, well, if it wasn't for his goals, where would Arsenal be at this point? That's the question. Maybe Arsenal improve. Maybe it's a classic thing that everything's gone to Aubameyang and they've had to play around Aubameyang and he had to be the main man. Whereas now that he's perhaps going to be out of the picture, they become more of a team. I don't know. It might be that type of conversation.
Yeah.
But he has been a prolific goal scorer in terms of, you look at chance to goal ratios. He's had, apart from this season, he's had a fantastic rate.
Yeah.
He's had an impact at that club. And I think Arsenal got them, they've had their money's worth out of him. Definitely. Commercially, or even goals and in assists or just impacts in that squad. They made him into a captain, for Christ's sake. So has he been that bad? He's been rewarded with a big contract. Has he been that bad if that's all happened?
It's a weird one. Because I don't know how to describe it really. I think like with him, he should have left with the whole because I know he got linked to Barcelona.
Yeah.
And I think when you've got a player that, because like no one can deny what he's done for the club is ridiculous. Like the season where he was like one of the top scorers in Europe, and like I think he had the same amount of goals as like Mane and Salah, in which like he's sharing the golden boot with Mane and Salah.
Yeah.
While playing for one of the worst Arsenal teams we have seen. Like in my lifetime, I can honestly say that is the worst Arsenal team I have ever seen.
Certainly in recent history, I'd agree. Yeah. They'd probably go, well, hang on, we're still winning FA Cups, so how bad was it?
Exactly, but the issue is they're winning the FA Cups because of him.
Yeah.
Like the guy literally was the only person that was getting the goals for them, especially in the semi-finals and finals. He was literally the only person dragging them through seasons, dragging them through it all. And that they've developed this like almost to an extent, like they've become too attached to him. And what they need to realize is that like football is, you can't hold on for forever. At some point, you need to move on. Yeah. And this January transfer window is the perfect opportunity for them to move on. It's the perfect opportunity. Things have soured. He's generally just not going to play anymore. There are players out there trying to leave clubs. You could get a loan deal, a loan with an option to buy. You can get players on quite a cheap. I don't know why they're looking to buy a player that's like worth like 50 million plus.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, there are players out there. Like you don't need someone that's necessarily like amazing, because this season they're getting goals from everywhere now. The goals are being shared. You just need someone that's functional. And that is what the January transfer window is quite important for. Getting that one player to fix, to like be the missing piece of a very like complex puzzle. Like even though Van Dijk's abilities were very good, he was the missing piece for a puzzle. Like you could give it like to either, you can give it to lots of players like Vidic. No one was coming in to now say, oh, Vidic was now going to be world class. You didn't think, oh, he's coming in, he's going to be the player he was. But but people thought, okay, we'll give him a chance. He comes in, absolutely basically does it all. He does it all.
Well, and then, but the thing is though, to start off with, absolute stinkers. Like him and Evra, stinkers.
Yes.
And but look how it turned out. What a beautiful budding relationship that was.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I think this is going to be my counter to it all, because I know teams get desperate and want their players to hit the ground running. But how often have we heard that player needs to integrate? They need to understand and get to grips with the league. Well, why does that matter in the summer? Like, so they still need that. They still need that bedding in period. So if you've got that player, why can't they bed in for that later part of the season? If they're successful, then brilliant. But if not, they've already got that experience under their belt. You know if they can do it or not, or you know what they have to develop during the off season. So is it strength? Is it more technique? You know, do you know what I mean? So I don't buy that argument, because it's thinking, well, you kind of trick fans, in my opinion, into big signings in the summer. You think, oh, brilliant, he's going to play, that's going to be cool. And then you don't see him start and go, oh, yeah, well, he needs to get to grips with the league. And you don't see that player for a month or two. And then the next excuse is, well, you know, we've already got an established team. This is the winning team. Why change it? And I feel like a lot of players suffer from that. I feel a lot of players suffer from it. So what's the difference in January, in my opinion? But Sam, I want to sort of move this on, and I want to see what players you personally see out there that's value for market, value for money in the market. I'll get my words out.
For which positions, really.
Well, I'd say probably just players at this point. I don't think it has to be like anything per player, per position or anything like that. So
someone that I'm pretty sure there is no way you can tell me you cannot poach this player, Rico Henry in Brentford. You like as a wing back, if especially for a club like Spurs, who need that backup wing back, especially a left-footed backup wing back. He's out there. He's in a club that's not going to get relegated. He's not and are not looking to achieve much more. They're going to coast through this season.
Yeah,
he's not going to be expensive because no one really knows that much about him.
Yeah,
but if you've been watching Brentford in general have like a range of good players, and I'm going to go to another one literally right after this. But he's going to be a cheap buy. He's very efficient, especially for what the style of football that Conte wants to play. He's definitely like someone that can fit in easily. And then Ivan Toney.
I was going to literally ask about
yeah. How expensive is Ivan Toney really going to be? Are you trying to tell me Arsenal can't splash? I'm thinking probably about 30 mil.
Yeah, I'm probably thinking it's going to be higher now. It might be an easier conversation because maybe Brentford are in a safer position, not totally safe, but certainly safer. But when you look at the player profile of Ivan Toney, like for me, you see how he holds the ball up. I was actually surprised how well he's adapted to the Premier League. I know he's a goal scorer, and he got his chances.
Outrageous.
But the thing that's really drawn my eye is the strength and holding up the ball and linking people in and bring others to the game. You look at where football is, where it's going. Strikers are needed probably more so for the link up play now than the goals. We know the argument amongst Man United fans is, does Ronaldo give you that link up play, or is it just that he's the end product of good play? There's people who are perhaps defending Martial saying, he doesn't get the goals, but he has a really good link up play. Yeah, this is why. Look at Rashford's goals. Look at this player's goals. You know what I mean? And he's always been a starter.
Yeah, do we need that much more goals when, especially for United, we're a different club where we've had we literally had 3 players getting goals every game. We had Rashford, Bruno, and Greenwood just gunning goals.
Yeah,
I don't think you can have in a 4 players having high goal tallies. I think that happened once. I don't think that's happening in a game. That's a really big anomaly. You have to have someone that's more of the creator. Yeah, and that's going to be the main creative force. Someone that's going to sacrifice their goals to just try and help out that team a bit more. Which
I look at Toney and I'm thinking, look, a lot of people go, "Oh, that's a load of cap. You're waffling." But I generally look at the style that he has, and I see value in every team. I see value if it was a Man City. I massively see value in Liverpool because Roberto Firmino was lauded for it. Now, the one thing that's been questioned about his goals, the one thing that wasn't in question for recent times was his link-up play. This is why Salah and Mane get all these goals because of this guy. Well, this is what Toney essentially is doing for a smaller team. Man United, you can keep going. You can even argue Chelsea because they've tried. Imagine him and Lukaku. If anything, they'd probably be a better pairing than Werner or Havertz and Lukaku.
It would be ridiculous. It would honestly be ridiculous. If Chelsea, I don't know why every Chelsea fan I've spoken to have never mentioned him ever. And I remember during the time I was like, look at Ivan Toney. This is a player you would need. You're going to spend 100 million for a guy that doesn't do hold up play. His link up play is not that great. And there's a guy who isn't as big of a name, but without him being as big of a name, you've got the fact that if he flops, people are going to say, oh well, he wasn't a good player anyway.
Yeah.
If he does well, you can be like, well, it's good value it's a very good value for money. So you can't really lose with that kind of signing. But then there's this there's almost this focus on teams wanting to have like, oh, the big player. This is the guy that's gonna take us somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think like there's like Ivan Toney as class player. I think Chelsea, especially Chelsea, should have gone in for him, especially. But I think it would also work very well in Liverpool because, especially in that pressing system, and he's clinical. I think people like forget about how clinical he is because he's been sacrificing everything just to help the team. But he's clinical. If you watch him in Championship, these are goals that aren't normal goals for any striker to score. There was even one in the playoff finals that it didn't even go in. He just took a shot, like volleyed it, and it just smacked the bar. And like the guy just knows where the goal is and will always shoot when given the opportunity. But he can also do the link-up play. Like the guy is a complete striker.
Yeah.
And no one has thought, oh, it's a cheap price. We can go in for him because of his. I think it's mainly because of his name.
Well, this is the thing, and an interesting factor that's coming certainly this year, and it was a case last season. There's going to be a load of free agents.
Yeah.
Boubacar Kamara, we've mentioned that. Kessie. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a number of, and not only that, you not only got free agents, but you're going to get players who are going to have 1 year left in their contract. Tchouameni's going to be one of them.
Yeah.
And okay, Tchouameni might not be somebody that you want to get in January because there's going to be the whole bidding war and this, that, and the other. But then a ruthless club might just come in with a big go. Here's 50 mil, done. So, I mean, just to really just to get it done, get it over the line. But there are a lot of players out there. Like Paul Pogba is going to be free. Jesse Lingard is going to be free. You know, potentially. So, well, we like to think that. I imagine that he will be. But this is the thing. Kylian Mbappe is going to be free. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, these players, Pogba and Mbappe, may be Real Madrid bound, but are you telling me that? You know, if you really want, if you're a club with serious ambition, just to go, you know what, fuck, let's take a chance. You know what I mean? Let's blow these guys out of water. Let's offer a big wage. Let's see what happens. Do you know what I mean? Because you never know. You don't know what their motivations are ultimately. They just want to be loved. They want to be the number one guy in their club. And if you're competitive and you're looking to get trophies, then why not? But no, for me, I'm slightly confused why nobody's looking at Basuma. Brighton, this person's not going to be cup tied in terms of European competition. The stats kind of go his way if you love that, if you're into your Opta, but just purely eye test on the pitch, like this guy has impact in the teams that he plays in. And I don't get. It's kind of like, is it because he's so efficient at being a good all-rounder that kind of goes against him? I feel like how modern football's gone when it comes to midfielders, it's like they need a clear, distinctive thing. Like, are they defensive? Are they high scoring? Are they a ball player? Are they creative? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like with him. You probably argue it's more on the defensive side, but he's much more than that as a midfielder.
He can play make as well. He can play make.
Yeah,
I think,
and that's the thing.
Yeah, but I think Basuma's one isn't a case of his ability or price or anything like that. I think it's the current circumstance in which he's got a court date that could go wrong, and player teams. I think I still need an answer on why they didn't go for him in the summer.
Yeah,
because that is strange. That's very strange. But for the Jan, I get right now, like, you buy him, something happens, you've lost him, and you like, no club in their right mind is gonna play him. Like, you can't play him if he goes to jail, and even if he doesn't go to jail, then it's you playing him is not the greatest idea. But I think, like, hopefully it goes, like, everything goes well for him. Like, I'm personally not going to speak too much on it because I don't know a lot about the situation. But yeah, I think that's just the reason why, like, you don't want to get caught up in legal issues. Like, if you looked at United and their last manager and, like, for trying to find the manager, they did a massive background checks on all of them to find out
Yeah.
if like, because they don't want to get caught up in like another legal issue. Like we had a legal issue not long ago with Maguire. We don't really want another repeat, like, and another one with Wan-Bissaka as well. We don't need that repeat again. Like,
what?
And yeah, Basuma is a good player, but I think it's just the circumstances are a bit weird for him right now.
Yeah. Well, we've got, I'm going to throw a curveball in, and then we'll talk about some more obvious ones. Everton aren't doing particularly great at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I think they'll stay up because I do believe, I know they're free falling, but I do believe that there's generally 3 worse teams than them.
Yeah.
But why not sort of see their situation? They literally sold Lucas Digne, and for me, another sign of value in the market. And actually, what happens if you just take a punt? Villa were very on the pulse in what was going on, and how it actually ended up with Aston Villa getting a player like him is ridiculous. For the price as well, was ridiculous. I couldn't care less if there was a fallout between him and Benitez. How come all these other clubs haven't cottoned on to this?
They're not serious. I think there's always value in the market. It depends on how serious your club is. Chelsea wanted him, but Everton were like, we want to sell him. And Chelsea were like, no, we just want a loan. Let's be real with Chelsea. Chilwell's injury prone. Marcos Alonso is constantly injured. What is the risk of buying Lucas Digne? He's not going to play worse than Marcos Alonso, who gets injured himself quite often as well.
Yeah.
And he might not play as, I think he's better than Chilwell, but even if you think he's not, then he's still another option.
Yeah.
To get. And like, even if you think Lucas Digne is injury prone, you're still gonna have three of some degree of quality. Like Marcos Alonso is a bit more functional in that system, but especially Lucas Digne has a lot of quality to him that he's shown in his time, even for France as well in the Nations League. He's like got absolute quality in him. So I don't know why Chelsea like flakes on that. I understand why some other clubs, Spurs, I don't know what they were doing personally. They could have bought him as well. Liverpool obviously not, but there's lots of clubs. Even in Europe, if you needed Barcelona, your left back situation is like Alba's not gonna be able to play for forever. Lucas Digne was literally there.
I can't look at PSG, and I know they've got
PSG.
I know they've got the young lad at left back, but he is beyond raw. You know what I mean? Like
he's too rough.
Yeah, like at least with Digne, he's got the attacking outlet, but he seems a bit more steady defensively.
Yeah.
But was it Mendes? Yeah. Like Mendes is he could be a brilliant player. He could be an incredible player. Like he could try and get to that, Alphonso Davies kind of level.
Yeah,
he's just so wild with it. Yeah, it's like
such a wild card. Like you don't know what you're gonna get on a given day. You're just like, oh no, what's going on? Like, is he like I watch him sometimes and I'm thinking he's just a red card waiting to happen sometimes. He's either a red card waiting to happen or just a goal conceded. Like you don't know whether he's gonna make a great tackle, get the ball up and put in a great cross, or he's just gonna do something absolutely stupid, which is always a danger. It's entertaining to watch, but it's absolutely dangerous. And like there are other options, Bernat and Carré. I think that's the third guy. Carré is awful. Pretty sure he got absolutely ripped by Kingsley Coman in that Champions League final. He like made a mockery of him.
Yeah,
and from that day he never recovered.
Well, just finally, so we'll probably sort of look to wrap this one up. But another player, and this might not be. Well, there's two actually. Max Kilman or Konza at Villa. Now these guys I think have been very impressive. Well, Konza I think probably impressive for longer.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, why not? I don't feel they're ambitious. They'll probably hold on to him. They probably know his value. But at the same time, these people are moving mad. So it wouldn't surprise me if they had somebody lined up to get cheaper. But the impact that Konza seems to have has been decent. Max Kilman has probably been one of the underrated players this season, in the fact that he individually has been very, very good. I know Wolves haven't had an incredible season and anything like that, but he's actually been quite steady Eddie. And a lot of people will look at me, what the hell? But watch Wolves, watch this guy. He's actually done quite good this season.
Wolves season's not been too bad, by the way. It's been pretty decent. They're actually not that far for shout for top 4. If we're really being serious.
Whoa. We'll say European. We'll say European.
Okay, let's just say Europe for now. But like in terms of points and games in hand, then like if they win their games in hand, they're not actually far off. Like challenging. I don't think they'll get it because their squad depth is lacking.
Yeah.
But that Wolves team though, you can't rip. That team is waiting to be ripped apart.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? And when you look at Wolves, I think I want to say that they're desperate for money, but they need that money. And for me, like it is interesting. But I think Sam, what are your thoughts overall when it comes to the do you feel that there's that? Is it panic buying? Do you feel that there's value out there, or are clubs just cheaping out?
I think that there's always value in any market, no matter how expensive it might be, or how cheap it might be. It just depends on how serious your club is to achieving things and how they want to progress forward. Because if your club is well structured, well run, you will look at the transfers, and you could have them lined up from November.
Yeah, I certainly feel that there's that value out there. It's whether you're serious and want to push for glory, I guess, whether it's from a relegation point of view or from winning trophies, or for some teams, which I'm never going to subscribe to, getting top 4 because it means more money and getting to Champions League. But yeah, that's our thoughts, folks. What are yours? Leave a comment. If you feel that we've missed out any sort of big players, any key players, if you think we're talking absolute twaddle, hit us up on the socials. Don't forget, Ministry is on Twitter and Instagram. Sam as Doctor Who Sam 7. On Instagram, and myself, Jinky on IG and Twitter. Again, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And next week, new subjects as always, and an uncomfortable truth to follow. But guys, I'll be it for today, and we'll speak soon. Take care.